So I didn't start cultural divides and all this kind of thing, and I only lovingly would finish them. But if people are going to call out boomers, I'm going to lovingly urge boomers too, and my message is really about values. It really extends across all, generations, but it's just with some love for the boomer generation, because there is a missing message in society today, which is about why my story is repairing the world, my life, what Gentle Genius coaching is all about. So stick around. See, why I'm saying the world needs boomers and I don't even like that word, and their values today in the world is, well, for one, the times we went through, and everyone's generation and time is different, and there's something for respect for, the generation. I don't like all these divides, Generation Z, millennials, whomever, but, the 60s, 70s, were a time when things were forged. And, people didn't have the luxury of riding on top of the wave, per se. People like Muhammad Ali, went to jail rather than go to war, took a stand, and forged a better, Bill Russell too, and people like that who forged a better society. Then we have someone like Bobby Fischer, chess has really taken off. And while Bobby's, mental health is a whole other subject matter, he stood up to the Soviet Union, really at a time the United States and the Soviet Union were toe-to-toe geopolitically on the world stage. So it wasn't just that he was playing chess. He was taking on a societal issue and really forged society forward in some ways. Take a Billie Jean King and what the stand she took on behalf of women and women's sports. And so they weren't just great performers or athletes. They were people who led, and the whole explosion now in tennis. I saw Coco Gauff recently won a $5 million first prize for one tournament. Billie Jean King and people like that who forged the whole dynamic forward. And that's kind of like the tenacity and the authenticity that, boomers have a sense of, and that, the world today needs to feel in more abundance. The dilemma is that, and I think what's happening culturally and societally, psychologically, is that there was a sense with boomers, there was something even before, yes, it was world before boomers, young people, something called the greatest. It was amazing, defeating Nazism, and that was a great thing, right? But I don't think there was something, the baton was not passed so clearly from the greatest generation to boomers per se, that I think that boomers thought that a lot of things would be carried forth. And there was a kind of falling off, from this notion of a great society to, bridges, infrastructure, where society really is, and all the cultural changes. And now we have a generation and generations that are so technologically wired, really judging people on the basis of how quick they make decisions and how they can ridicule people. And what we're at risk of losing is, the values themselves. And this is what boomers represent. This is the heart of the matter. Boomers represent values. So having, some of the sense of strong values of rigid from the greatest generation, and the flexibility of the society today. And this is why we need this voice. It is more a call to boomers, and it's a call, as I say, cross generations, that we need courage. Courage in terms of the values of humanity, of collaboration, of doing things in a constructive way, which Gentle Genius does. And, we had so many of those leaders, Martin Luther King and others, the 60s, 70s. The thing about them, these were people who just solely had to roll up their sleeves and do what's right and work on principle. And we cannot allow principle to be overrun now. So for companies, families, and individuals, this is what Gentle Genius Coaching does. It gives people this authenticity. And so, along with this general encouragement to boomers themselves to step up and not let yourself be impugned by others, but to stand tall and say you stand for values and you understand the adaptability, but there's something generationally that's worth passing on. And so this is again, it can extend to all ages. This is what Gentle Genius Coaching, Training, Mediation does for folks. You could take a look at theworldsgenius.com. But this is kind of the values we need. And there's a real, the greatest threat right now is that we don't pass along values of humanity, of reciprocity, of mutuality, of people working together. And this is kind of what no technology itself can do, that we have to have our humanity. And so if it's boomers themselves, it's the values recognized by boomers. I had a young person who worked with me recently who said, I'm doing this old school, and it was wonderful how she did that. And so it's ageless. But to not see that we need humanity is a threat, and is a big failing on our part. So we need that courage, and I do urge people onward. And as I say, get the training, coaching, and mediation with us as one step. Like and subscribe. But these are messages that the world needs, however imperfect they might come across. These are messages, I don't know everything, but I know messages Massachusetts, America, and the world needs.